Hello, hello. Thank you, Just Le. Thiring America Chozo Tumi Kusab Chojungshi Sugar Dharamsala Thamsi Data Pumi Jigzu Gitine Kangjin Kishong Gitsogana Sishua Namla Jebuchi de Paye America Chozo Me Mangzu Nyamde Chojungi Chozo Kushab David Price Lata Chojun Kushab Vran Buchanan La Namni Gineti Be Kusab Chojung Dinang America Mangzu Chokbada Jidin Chokba Nile Jube Tumikun Tu Tang Kong Nambe Nangmi Jeba Paye Thanashi Gesa Dilir Tenshi Chebe America Shungsab Khan Lejeba Kachi Tha America Roksogi Unzin Lechap Thanashi Kundun Nambe Charo Leje Jeba Paye. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Central Tibetan Administration is honored to welcome the United States Bipartisan Congressional Delegation to Dharamsala, led by the chairman of the House Democracy Partnership, United States House of Representatives, Congressman David Price, and co-chair of the House Democracy Partnership, Congressman Vern Buchanan. The delegation includes Congresswoman Susan Davis, a member of Democratic Party, Congressman Jerry Connolly, a member of Democratic Party, Congressman Neil Dunn, a member of Republican Party, Congressman John Rutherford, a member of Republican Party. The members of the delegation are accompanied by their family members, Mrs. Lisa Price, Mrs. Sandy Buchanan, Dr. Stephen Davis, Ms. Leah Dunn, Mrs. Patricia Rutherford. We would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Derek Luton, Executive Director, House Democracy Partnership, Mr. Keith E. Simons, Acting Mission Director, US8 India, the staffers from the United States and military escorts, and the officials from United States Embassy, New Delhi. Without further ado, I would like to request Honorable Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Sengye to welcome the delegation.
What an honor and privilege to welcome the delegation. As I said yesterday, this is monsoon season, where it rains like cats and dogs. So we don't measure rain in terms of minutes or hours, but rather days. Is it 1 day long or 2 days long or 3 days long? And as we said, we have special connection with Lord Shiva. He is the god of Hinduism, but he lives in Tibet. So we sent him an email, and through him, the Lord Indra, to say that please take care of our delegation. The plane has to land. They have to visit Noble Linka and be here, everything on time. And as I said yesterday, the Lord of Weather are with us. To demonstrate it, you are welcome with a beautiful rainbow outside. So even the Lord Indra is saying, not only we are with you, here is my signature to all the cordial to say, I'm with you, you are doing a good job. For us, rain is good, rainbow is better. So I think we had a very colorful welcome yesterday and very eventful and substantive discussion today with the speaker and the executive member of the Tibetan Parliament Exile, with my colleagues at the cabinet, and obviously the best with His Holiness Dalai Lama, and a long luncheon with him. You know, His Holiness gets up at 2:30 a.m. every day. So for him, 2:30 p.m. means late night. So the fact that, he spent all this time with us and with you all means very special. At the end, he said, today we will separate physically by saying goodbyes, but in spirit, we will remain united. And he also said, be with us, with the Tibetans, as long as our movement remains moral and nonviolent. Be with us, he used the word permanently. So I think the deal is sealed, and the rainbow says so. So you're with us permanently. And you have sent a message to Beijing and to the capital city of Tibet, Lhasa, that democracy is inevitable, democracy is universal. And the Chinese government says, they talk about Asian values and cultural relativism, that there might not be democracy in some countries or some community or some culture, but Tibetan democracy in exile proves it otherwise, that democracy is universal. Even Tibetans in exile can practice democracy. In effect, shows that democracy is universal. And to prove it, we have, in fact, if you look at on the stage people who are here, I'm perhaps one of the youngest and who has the shortest term. In the sense, Chief Justice, the Speaker, and Public Service Commissioner, and the Auditor General, they all have more than 2 decades of service in Central Tibet administration. As I shared with you, their salary is less than your per diem, a month. But nonetheless, their labor is a labor of love. We all take public transportation, except me. I think America spoiled me after spending 16 years, because we think we save money to send our children to school. We don't take business class, we take economy class, thinking we will save a few $1,000s to send some more students to universities. So this is how we are frugal, how we are transparent. And why I say this is because USAID is here, through the Congress, through USAID, we get some funding, and which we use it very diligently and very properly. So all the 3 pillars of democracy and 2 independent commissioners are here to welcome the delegation, to say thank you from the bottom of our heart. Your presence here means a lot. Your presence here means that democracy and human rights are the values that need to be embraced, that need to be supported from time to time. And especially 6 million Tibetans in Tibet who are listening to every day under very difficult circumstances what's happening to the Tibetan cause. What are the Tibetans in exile doing? What is CTA doing in Dharamsala? And your presence is sending a message to Tibetans in Tibet. We are with you. I know you are in a very difficult position, but we will do what we can. The congressional delegation will speak for justice, speak for truth, speak for freedom. That's the message you have sent. That is the message of hope. That is the message of inspiration. That is the message to say, keep on. We will keep marching forward till freedom is restored in Tibet and His Holiness Dalai Lama returns to Tibet. That is the aspiration of 6 million Tibetans. You might know 153 Tibetans have committed self-immolation. They have burned themselves. Not many people know this. And almost all of them are saying they have 2 demands or 2 aspirations before they leave this world, and majority of them died. They want to see the return of His Holiness Dalai Lama to Tibet. They want to see basic freedom like any other human being. That's their aspiration. And many of them have left this world, but your presence is saying you are not forgotten. We know your aspirations. You know why you died, why you sacrificed. But we are here not to condone violence, not to condone injustices, but to say freedom is what we all support. So hence Tibetans in Tibet will be tonight, and since yesterday, we look up to you and say, America has been with us for many decades, and America is still with us. That means a lot to us. So hence I want to thank all of you from the bottom of our heart, and on behalf of all the executive members on stage and as I said, the engine of the Tibetan movement are the bureaucrats or the staff members of Tibetan administration. And our NGOs are also here. Collectively, we reflect the aspirations of Tibetans in Tibet. And I can say on behalf of everybody, thank you very much. What an honor and what a privilege to host you. Thank you.
Techela America Cheso Ome Mangzu Nyamde Tsojungi Tsogzu Kushab David Price Like Isungshe Nangyu. I would like to request Honorable Chairman of the House Democracy Partnership, United States House of Representatives, Congressman David Price, to address the officials of the Central Tibetan Administration.
Thank you. Good evening. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you with this large and distinguished audience, to be here representing the U.S. House of Representatives and in particular the House Democracy Partnership, and to address you after a very, very productive, encouraging day here in Dharamsala. We've had a wonderful time. I'm joined today, you've already heard the introductions, of 5 distinguished members of the U.S. House, a bipartisan delegation. We stress bipartisanship. We represent both of our country's major political parties. I want to bring a heartfelt greeting from the Speaker of our House of Representatives, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who is a great friend of Tibet and the Tibetan people, and was here about a year ago, and for so many years has championed the cause of human rights, paying particular attention to human rights in China. She greatly facilitated and encouraged our visit here today. So that's my first duty, and I'm happy to execute it, to bring you greetings from Nancy Pelosi. Our arrival here yesterday was memorable. We came through with American flags flying in all directions. A wonderful greeting. We haven't had too many greetings like that. And we take it as a testament to the unshakable connection between our two people. And the Honorable Sikyung and the ministers today and the leaders and members of the Parliament, we've had a day of interesting and productive discussions. But of course the capstone was the audience with His Holiness and the prolonged luncheon where we were able to receive his words of wisdom in ways that I think inspired us all, and also learn something about his history, the country's history. It was a wonderful experience. None of us will ever forget it. It was the honor of a lifetime to have that audience and that lunchtime conversation with a man who's viewed worldwide as a symbol of peace and love and compassion. We've been honored to receive His Holiness in the United States in a number of visits. They began, I believe, in 1979. I remember his address to a joint session of the Congress soon after I came to the Congress. This visit, though, for our delegation will always be in our memories. So it is something for which we thank Sikyong and those who have set this up. And by the way, Mr. President invited us not too long ago. We worked this out rather quickly to come to Dharamsala, and we are so glad we did. It's been a rewarding visit and one we will, as I say, always remember. The people of the United States are proud to support the Tibetan communities in Nepal, in India, in their goal of achieving self-reliance, sustainability. In fact, it was just around this time 4 years ago that our co-chair, Congressman Vern Buchanan, led another bipartisan delegation to Nepal that included a memorable visit to Buddhanath, the largest Tibetan Buddhist stupa in Kathmandu. And in the United States Congress, we have spoken as one. We've been united in our votes and our advocacy for the rights of the Tibetan people to safeguard their distinct identity, to protect and perpetuate their religious freedom and cultural heritage. We understand how important it is for Tibetan exiles to preserve their culture, given the challenges they face while being guests in another country, and of course, the pressures their compatriots face in Tibet proper. We in the United States Congress are particularly proud of the long partnership between the United States and the Central Tibetan Administration and with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The United States government, through USAID and the State Department, will continue the work with the Tibetan communities in Nepal and India to improve their livelihoods, to preserve traditional culture and religion and language, to improve the ability of the CTA to represent and provide services to the people, and to train the next generation of leaders. This assistance takes multiple forms, including development assistance for non-governmental organizations working with Tibetan communities in Tibet, education and cultural exchange programs, Tibetan language broadcasts into Tibet through the Voice of America and Radio Free Asia, and many more projects. As a member of Congress and of the House Democracy Partnership, we're particularly impressed by the commitment of the Tibetan people worldwide to democracy. And that, I want to spend just a moment on that, because that really is the theme of our visit. And it's really what we stress as the House Democracy Partnership. This parliament that's been developed, and we know it's evolved some from the early days of the Commission of People's Deputies, and the remarkable worldwide electoral system that you've developed, whereby almost 60,000 votes were cast in 2016 for Sikyong and for the Parliament. The Parliament. Our House Democracy Partnership is all about parliaments, representative institutions in developing and aspiring democracies worldwide. In fact, we came here from earlier visits from longtime parliamentary partners in Timor-Leste and Indonesia. Why are parliaments important, you might ask? I'm not going to give you a political science lecture, but I am going to remind all of us that parliaments are essential. Representative institutions are essential, just as essential as free and fair elections to realizing democracy. It's the most direct link of government to the people. It provides a vital outlet for society's aspirations, for people's frustrations. Anybody serving in the parliament knows about the frustrations part. It's about more than just giving citizens a voice. It's about channeling competing interests that any society have into a place where they can be resolved peacefully and constructively, instead of spilling over into violence and instability. Secondly, a parliament, a legislature, should act as an important check and an instrument of accountability to other branches of government, especially the executive and its ministries. And finally, legislatures are a key source of policy generation. Now, we're not all the same. Not every legislature has the same kind of powers, but we have a common interest in acting as an independent source of policy ideas, policy initiatives, as well as giving critical scrutiny to the initiatives that come from the executive. If our work has taught us anything over these 13 years as the House Democracy Partnership, and our experience of 220 years as the American democracy since our Constitution was established, if it's taught us anything, it's that democracy is a work in progress. It is never perfectly and finally achieved. After all, it was just 150 years ago that our nation threw off the chains of slavery, and we still struggle with discrimination and inequality. It was just over 100 years ago that women were finally given the right to vote in our country. And those are just the most obvious examples of the way each generation, each new generation, must expand democracy, must make it more inclusive, must guard against the forces that would set us back. Democracy is not just about government, however. It is partly about government. We need to have effective, responsive government, but we've also got to safeguard what we call civil society, the network of associations and institutions, as well as customs and traditions that make our societies distinctive and nurture our freedom. You do that here, and you do it in Tibetan communities worldwide. We in Congress often hear from those communities. They help us understand the aspirations of the Tibetan people worldwide, and they help ensure that the cause of Tibet and the people of Tibet are never forgotten. You give force and leadership to that cause here in Dharamsala, and your development of representative institutions is what makes the story of Central Tibetan administration inspiring to all who believe in democracy across the globe. The call to action from the Tibetan people after being displaced from your home, and the determination to govern your community effectively through democratic institutions, inspire the admiration of the entire free world. And you've done this in the face of unremitting hostility and threats from those who govern your ancestral homeland. This year, on the 60th anniversary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's being forced into exile, we also remember the bravery and the determination of those who fought and often gave their lives when the Chinese government's reign of oppression came crashing down. We not only remember this anniversary solemnly, but we use it as an opportunity to renew the bonds between our peoples. We use it as an opportunity to thank you for your commitment to democracy. And we stand with you in this pursuit. We remain firmly with you in the fight, your fight, for liberty and self-determination, which all peoples deserve, certainly the Tibetan peoples included. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for all the good work you do. Thank you for the inspiration you serve to aspiring democracies all over the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Shamla Dharamsala Sane Gunzi Lekhan ki Ube Shungje Mayimbe Tsokbakha ki Kutsap Nambe Kutsap Tsokjungi Tsongmi Namla Pipsu Jeda Dengyu. Now the representatives of the Tibetan NGOs will welcome the delegation with traditional ceremonial scarves.
Yeah, fish. That's not fish. Fish. Fish.